and return to the Greek drachma would create the conditions of economic chaos and uncontrollable social explosion. The redenomination of all contracts from euros to drachmas is tantamount to an expropriation of savings. Debtors will benefit, including some media owners who are heavily indebted and have been very much against this second program. And depositors will lose. And finally, looking back to the drachma period, there was a recurrence of currency crises that were resolved through devaluation. But this never improved competitiveness on a lasting basis, and it never will. Thank you.
Miranda Xafa, thank you very much. So, audience, you've heard the views and the opening arguments of our panel. It's your turn to put your comments and your questions to us. But before we do that, I want to give you the results of the pre-debate vote and where you stand on this motion that Greece should default on its debts and leave the euro. To you two on my right, I have to tell you, it's bad news. You know what? This is the land of Hercules, isn't it? You've got a Herculean effort, challenge ahead of you, because this is how the audience voted. For the motion, 18.6. Against the motion, with you, 72.4%. And the bad news gets worse for you two because the undecideds are only 9%. So even if you did a fantastic job and won all of those, it's not going to get you very far. So, all right, let us take some comments from the floor. Let me see a show of hands, please. Let's go to the gentleman there with the pale blue shirt. Okay, fire away.
I would like to give one small comment and say that Greece is not the country that is most in debt in the world. If you look at total debt of a country, Netherlands is much more. Finland, which is part of Europe and refusing to give the money, is even more. Germany is above the same. And guess what? The UK is five times GDP, total debt. However, the question is that how come in Greece we have a debt crisis, and in all these countries, and also in Japan, we don't have a debt crisis?
Okay, thank you. Who has the microphone? Yeah.
What we lack in Greece right now, and I have not, it's more addressed to the Yay group there, and I admire you both, is vision. So what do you have to say to the 25-year-old Greek that has no job, no prospects of a job, and with your solution, to the best way of understanding it, his salary is going to be really the equivalent of 300 euros, which is barely going to cover his expenses to go to work. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, whoever's got the microphone, go on.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Yannis Sirigos, and I'm proud to be working for the best and biggest maritime industry in the world, which is the Greek one. I think that what a foreign investor needs, as well as a domestic one, is stability and a low tax regime. Shipping has 0 tax rate, and yet we contribute 7% to this country's GDP. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Violeta Gondodamon. I'm from the University of Athens. What do you suggest? Do you have like one simple suggestion? What to do next? That's my question.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll come to that one. Let's pick up. So, panel, Greece is not the only country that is experiencing heavy debt. Why make an exception of it? Its problems are not unique. Who'd like to address that?
Well,
Okay, Nouriel Roubini.
on the public debt, Greece has one of the highest in the world. It's around 160 going towards 180. And even after this debt restructuring, it's going to be close to 150. In the best scenario, 120. So Greece is insolvent. No one discusses that. And everybody here agrees that that restructure should occur. But unless you restore economic growth, that is going to remain unsustainable. Now, I understand you can be part of Europe, you can be European without being part of the Eurozone.
All right. Dennis, if you want to respond to that, but also the question, it's not only Greece that has a debt crisis.
Maybe an easy answer. It's a point I made to our friends in Germany, my friends in Germany, spreche Deutsch, wir Freunde deutschen Volkes, that maybe Greece should stop buying Mercedes and BMWs and buy cars from China and Korea. Because we've had a transfer union for 60 years. The German politicians say they don't like the term transfer union. We've all been transferring lots and lots of money to Germany by buying German goods. There could be more money coming into Greece if there was less bureaucracy, if there was a bit less, can I use the C word? How do you say corruption in Greece?
You said it, yeah. But just this, very quickly, on that point was, why pick on Greece, I suppose, is at the base of that question, because other countries have a debt crisis.
First of all, private debt was the fastest growing part of Greek debt during the last 10 years, not public debt. It's private debt that grew up incredibly fast during the period of the euro. The second thing, though, why pick on Greece? For the very simple reason. Greece borrowed in a currency that it conceived to be its national currency, the euro, but in practice it's turned out to be a foreign currency.
Miranda, let's pick up the question that we had from the floor about what would you say to a 25-year-old who doesn't have jobs?
The minimum wage in Greece will just decline by 22% in one go under the second rescue package. And to those who argue that this will depress demand, I respond that this is what we have to do, right? Remember the gap between consumption and production. So how do you reduce consumption? By reducing incomes. It's painful medicine, but it's the only way.
Okay, and very quickly, maybe just pick up the point that we had from the shipping representative who talked about the enterprise tax being too high.
Taxes should be slashed, but the counterpart to that is to slash government spending, which is what the government has failed to do so far.
Well, you have also a problem of tax evasion. There are lots of people who don't pay taxes, and legally the ship owners who are billionaires have been exempted from any tax. That's not a fair system. The middle class, the poor are paying the taxes, the rich have taken the money out, or they legally don't pay taxes. That's not the system is viable.
Is the microphone there with the shipping chap?
What I'm just saying is that if there was a tax rate of 10%, 15%, everybody would be glad to pay it because nobody wants to be
everybody would. But what
illegal.
about the point Nouriel Roubini made about tax evasion? We know that there are billions of euros.
Well, you have 45% tax rate. It's normal for any individual to tax evade, otherwise you won't be able to make a living. If you had a normal tax rate, you would be able to pay your taxes, make a living, support your family, and not be a tax evader.
Okay. All right, audience, can we have some more questions? Yeah, 3 or 4.
Looking now with the power of hindsight, having been 2 years in the crisis, and I've seen that we are suffering and we are bleeding, our dreams, our country, our people, maybe we should have gone to bankruptcy. My doubt, though, is, through these years we have suffered so much in order to go and sacrifice even more. So would it be like a catastrophic result for us to go now into bankruptcy rather than have done it a few years ago, let's say 5 years ago, 3 years ago? And the problem is, for both solutions, that what we lack is the political will, the political people to do it for us, whether it's the one or the other one.
Please.
It was mentioned that, yes, we consider that euro is our currency, but we don't control it. Yes, we might not control it, but let's not forget the 3 tools of monetary policy are interest rates, exchange rate, and monetary mass. Yes, we don't control exchange rate. Well, does anyone know at what rate we Greeks borrow today? It has nothing to do with the interest rate that prevails in other countries. And have anyone in the panel heard of post-dated checks. This is the monetary mass. Not even the Troika knows today what is the monetary mass in this country. So yes, we control the euro.
Are there any more ladies, any more women? Yes, yes, please.
The European Commission in November said that if we left the euro, we'd also have to leave the European Union. What's going to happen to all the people that can't leave to get jobs in the rest of Europe?
If Greece had to default on its debts and leave the euro, would it have to leave the European Union too?
Would it have to leave the European Union if it also if it left the euro? I see no mechanism that dictates this. None at all. This is actually scaremongering. Now, it might come to it. It might be that Greece will face an impossible position within the European Union. It would then choose to leave. That is possible. But I see no automatic mechanism leading to the latter. I see actually relief on the part of a lot of countries participating in the monetary union, if Greece decided to leave it but stay in the European Union, because they would actually think that they would get a more stable...
Is it scaremongering, though? Is it scaremongering when you had the Chancellor of Germany, Angela Merkel, said last year, if the euro fails, then Europe fails, and many believe that if Greece fails and leaves the euro, that the euro project as a whole would be in jeopardy. So is she scaremongering?
Yes, she is. I think this is just consumption for domestic consumption.
Dennis, on this point about would it have to leave the EU?
It's not automatic, but on the other hand, if you want to put in the measures that usually go with the devaluation, capital controls, protection, tariff barriers, import controls, that can't be compatible with the single market. And there's a wider geopolitical issue at stake here, and that is that there are many, many people in Europe, oddly enough, not really in Greece, except on the fringe, who do want to bust the thing apart, who loathe the idea of the single market from the left and loathe the idea of common social and environmental rules from the right. And it's an extraordinary thing to protect and cherish. And there are many enemies of that around the world who want to bust Europe into a competing set of nation states. 1930s economics is bad enough, 1930s politics, nein, danke.
Okay. Nouriel Roubini, briefly.
My view is Greece is the cradle of democracy, is the cradle of Western civilization, is even the cradle of Europe. Greece has always been part of Europe, will always remain part of Europe. That's not the point. The point is there are plenty of countries that are members of the European Union who decided, like Dennis' country, to stay out of it, like the UK, like Sweden, like Denmark. And I tell you, they're doing fine. There are plenty of countries that are in Central Eastern Europe. Some of them eventually may join the Eurozone. Some of them may not join the Eurozone. We already know it's a complex Eurozone. So the issue is, if you don't do something, it's going to restore growth, restore competitiveness, restore job. If you're going to have 5 years of depression, then you're left in this country social upheaval, political upheaval. There could be even a military takeover. You could have a revolution. And if you don't restore competitiveness, you're going to go into depression and eventually have a revolution in this country.
Nouriel, I don't disagree. In the House of Commons, you have to give way. Very simply, I can take you to my constituency in Yorkshire, in North England, and introduce you to 25, 30% youth unemployment there. We have this recession in countries in and out of the euro. It's not the currency that counts. It's the right-wing conservative orthodox policies that need changing.
All right.
Devaluation won't make any difference at all.
Let's take some more comments from the floor.
Professor Lapavitsas and Professor Roubini, quick question is that the medicine that you are actually advocating is for Greece to commit suicide and then hopefully it would be resurrected. Now, it happened only 2,000 years ago. I don't think it's going to happen again.
Thank you. There's a lady there.
If we exit the Eurozone and we have the drachma, that will be in the control of Greek politicians who have reduced Greece to its current state of being a beggar in Europe. I shudder to think what will happen if they have the control of the currency of this country again.
Okay, thank you.
I don't think that the euro is a problem. I think that the politicians cannot stress their opinion against bankers. So, Mr. Lapavitsas, do you think that Greek politicians can stress their opinion for the Greek rights against bankers and banks? Thank you.
Okay, yeah, gentleman here, if you could stand.
Greece will not fail. We know what we shall do. I don't think it's a matter of macroeconomic gimmicks. It's a matter of our people, our youth, our nation, coming together, remembering who we are, and start working hard to revitalize the country. So the question is simple. The question is simple. As we are doing that, ready to go ahead and stand on our feet, have you, as experts, something to suggest that will help revitalize a community and a nation that is in a bad psychological state to find its own character and its own drive and its own creativity? Thank you.
Denis, you are the only politician on this panel. A couple of points raised from the audience about the role of politicians either in bringing Greece to this terrible current predicament and whether they are the right people to steer the country out of it.
I'm with Oscar Wilde. There's only one thing worse than advice, and that is good advice. So I'm not proposing to give any tonight. What I would say, though, is that we have a debt deficit, a deficit, but we also in Europe have a truth deficit. We're incapable of telling the truth. The left won't tell the truth that you cannot reform the European economy on the assumption of ever more taxation, ever increasing public sector payments and welfare payments. The right won't tell the truth that you cannot create a social market economy without some social justice. And that means a maximum wage as well as a minimum wage. It means bankers accepting responsibility. And to my ship owner friends, I'm sorry, when the bishops and the ship owners start paying taxes, Greece will be back on the road to recovery.
Costas Lapavitsas, very briefly on the transaction costs being very high.
Before I get onto transactions, I want to say something about law. To the gentleman over there, no provision existing for exit means no provision existing for exit. It doesn't mean that you've got to get out of the European Union to get out of the monetary union. No provision means no provision. So whether Greece will have to leave the monetary union in order to leave the EU, not to leave the monetary union, is an assertion, an illegal assertion at that. And I've seen very many arguments about this. Now,
could it be pushed out? Could it be pushed out against its will?
It could well be. It could well be. In the end, it's a political issue. If the political conditions are created such that Greece cannot remain within the European Union or within the monetary union, then it won't stay.
All right. Okay. While you're voting, audience, let's take some more comments. They can just be comments from the floor. All right. You have the microphone. Stand, and then it
Hello.
come to you.
Yes. My name is Efrosini Figa, and I'm a public officer. And I would like to ask you the following. I'm pro the euro. This is definite for me. Euro is the only way ahead of Greece. But in order to have growth, we need to have added value. And how are we going to have added value when we are going to sell all our resources? And I mean from methane, gas, oil, water, and electricity, whatever. How are we going to have added value and be able to grow? Will it be only by tourism?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Hello, my name is Katerina Nano and I'm a social worker working with the homeless people. I just wanted to make one comment. We're talking about human souls. We're not talking about just numbers. And as I'm a social worker, I witness lower class and middle class people suffering every day. Yeah, all right. And suffering every day through my work. And I just want to say that in this country we have forgotten the terms of human dignity and social justice. So I just wanted to remind that and just leave this comment for the audience and the speakers. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, well, let's now have our closing arguments from our panel. We'll do it in reverse order. Just a minute, please, each of you panel, and Miranda Xafa, if you could make your final statement, and you can incorporate some of the points from the floor if you wish.
To paraphrase Churchill, you can always rely on the Greek political establishment to do the right thing in the end after they've tried everything else. What led Greece into this mess is its ineffective, inefficient, and corrupt political establishment, which viewed politics as a way to provide benefits to special interest groups in exchange for votes. If you offer the printing press to this political establishment, they'll just go back to business as usual. So we have to starve the beast by staying in the euro and implementing the second rescue package. That's the only way to get political reform in addition to economic reform.
Okay. Miranda Xafa arguing against the motion. Thank you very much. I gave you 90 seconds because you had applause that took some of your time. Arguing for the motion, Costas Lapavitsas, your closing argument.
It is quite an experience for me to be in the midst of an audience that is so radical when it comes to politics. People want change. They want to change the political system. They want to change the economic system. They want to change this country root and branch. And that's what it needs. If it stays in the Eurozone, that's the biggest guarantee that it will never change. Those who think that change will come from the outside because the Germans will make us change, the Finns will make us change, the Dutch will make us change, don't understand how change comes about. Because that was also said in the late 1990s. We join the Eurozone, we will become progressive Europeans and everything else, and look where we are. Look at what has happened. Change doesn't come this way. It comes from within. So Greece needs to break out, and it needs to transform itself, and that can only be done by the Greek people themselves outside this trap in which they found themselves.
Costas Lapavitsas, thank you. Arguing against the motion that Greece should default on its debts and leave the euro, Denis MacShane.
We either Europeanise the Balkans or we will Balkanise Europe. And I fear Greece leaving the euro will be the start of that Balkanisation. We couldn't have this debate in Britain because everybody there thinks that Britain now is the happiest of happy countries because we're not in the euro. Come and visit me in my constituency, my social worker friend up there. The cries for social justice are enough. We have enough, as Gandhi said, in this world for everybody's need. We will never have enough for everybody's greed. So let's get a bit more greed out of our society and then we'll make it a better Greece and Europe.
Thank you. And Nouriel Roubini, for the motion, your closing argument.
Entering the Eurozone for Greece has been a political disaster, an economic disaster. In order to have hope, you have to have the light at the end of the tunnel. And the light at the end of the tunnel cannot be the one of the incoming train wreck. It has to be the light of economic growth, of prosperity, of restoring growth and competitiveness and jobs. Then you can do the reforms, not before. And that's why you have to default, and you have to exit the Eurozone, and you have to regain your own power over yourself. Nobody from the outside can impose it. You, as a proud people, can do the reform, and you can do it when you have your own independent economic policies.
Thank you, Nouriel Roubini. Well, audience and panel, and audience, wherever you're watching this on BBC World News, I have the results of the post-debate result, all right? So this is how you voted before you heard our panel make their arguments. For the motion that Greece should default on its debts and leave the euro, originally it was 18.6% for. Against it was 72.4%, and undecided was 9%. That's how you voted first. Now, in your second vote, for the motion is 18.9%. That's a tiny increase of 0.3%. And against the motion, it's gone to a clear 75%, so that's up 2.6%. You managed to nudge them a little bit. And the undecided moved from 9% to 6.1%, which is a change of 2.9%. So, against the motion, you have carried the day and maintained your lead and added to it slightly. For the motion, I'm afraid the bad news remained bad for you, but you made a Herculean effort nevertheless. And I thank all our speakers and the audience here at the Hellenic Cosmos Cultural Centre in what has been an extremely important debate coming to you from the very heart of the battle to save the euro. My thanks to Intelligence Squared Greece for making this all possible. But from me, Zeinab Badawi, and all of us here in Athens, goodbye.